Hello and welcome everyone, this is Type V3 and today we're taking a look at one of the most anticipated figure releases of the year, Max Factory's Figma Link from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now you'd think that a video game character as popular as this would have a museum's worth of figures, but alas, that's not the case. In fact, of the few that are out there, none of them are any good. So with the bar set low, let's see how this one stacks up against the competition. This is Link. The hero of Hyrule remains faithful to his in-game appearance. The proportions are all correct and make it easy to distinguish that he's an adolescent warrior more so than anything else. The overall sculpt is equally pleasing too. It may be simple in design, but it's all the small little details that complete the look. The wrinkles in his pants and tunic are subtle, as are the seams that run down the sides of his attire. But it's these small elements that bring the figure to life. Furthermore, the sculpt also hides Link's joints exceptionally well. I was specifically impressed with the torso and shoulder connections. Clearly they're the most obvious points of articulation, but the bagginess of his outfit hides that fact with ease. My only complaint is Link's toe joint. It's just horrendous to look at from every angle. The paintwork on Link is an example of flawless execution and simplicity. All the colors are solid with no special techniques involved. It's applied cleanly with no quality control issues. For the most part it looks great, but could have used a touch more work in certain areas. His silver armor would have benefited from a chainmail texture, and I wish there were more highlights in his hair to bring out the layers of his bangs. Link's head sculpt is great and makes this figure easily recognizable. I love the metallic blue earrings, and the stoic expressions suit the character well. Now, not only does Link come with a second face, but he's also got a second front hairpiece as well. The screaming face is awesome just because of how much depth was given to the mouth, though it can look a tad goofy at times. On the other hand, the second hairpiece, which is supposed to look like it's blowing in the wind, doesn't differentiate itself that much from the original. It's a real shame. I don't think it serves that much of a purpose, and I find it to be a wasted accessory slot. One of the first things you'll notice when you get Link in hand is just how dense he is. It feels like a nice hunk of quality plastic. It's the same feeling I got when I got Figma Samus. The only difference is, because Samus is so much larger, you almost expect it with this figure. With Link, it's a nice little surprise. The articulation's pretty good. It's got a nice ball-jointed head. The cap can rotate and just come off if you wanted to. Although I don't know why you'd want it to. There's an awesome ab crunch. No waist swivel, but that's okay. The shoulders are interesting. They connect in on the side of his shoulder, so it means that he doesn't really have any bicep rotation, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, on other Figmas, most of the shoulder joints attach at the top, like on Igus here, so that they can rotate and act as a faux bicep joint. Link, you don't have that, and that does create some issues when you want to get his arms in front of his chest. So a little bit of a minor annoyance there. You can pull them down, and then they can extend further up, but that's about it. The elbow joint is nice, and of course you could swivel it there, just as you can with any of the wrists, and use that joint as well. The hips are actually really good. They're ball joints, and like most Transformers, there's a swivel that covers the ball joint so that he can rotate it out. Now, the skirt does impede some of his movement, but there are cuts in it to allow you to be not so restrictive. But still, it's not like you're going to want Link in any high-kicking poses. The knee's pretty good, and as is the ankle, so you can give him some good crouching stances. The toe joint is something I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of toe joints in general, but this one is just almost useless. It's very specific in its use, and the only way I've ever found mine to be really stable with it is with the Figma stand, so that kind of just eliminates the purpose of it. The other thing too is, because it's so small and on mine the connection is a bit loose, if you tilt him far forward enough, the toe joint activates and he just tends to fall over. Like that. So it's a bit of an annoying issue. I kind of rather not have it there. I mean, it would make the sculpt look a lot cleaner, and it would make him a lot more stable to stand. But overall, articulation is pretty good. Moving on, Link comes with a good amount of hands. He's got a pair of fists that serve as the most versatile in any situation. Then there's the relaxed hands for when he's not too serious. Then Link's got these splayed open palms, which look really flat. I like to think that beams will start shooting out of them. On the arsenal front, Link comes with the iconic Hylian shield and the Master Sword, along with its scabbard. The connection for them isn't the most secure, and when you peg it into the back of Link, the shield tends to sway in the direction of gravity. Also, these items tend to collide with Link's head and restrict most neck movement. Now, getting Link to wield these weapons is a tedious affair. For the shield, you need to disassemble the handle, slide the open end through a specific shield-wielding hand, peg it back into the arm, then attach an included strap to keep things secure. It's a lot of work just to get him to hold this thing. For the sword, you simply unsheath it, then wedge the handle through a specific sword-gripping hand. Now before you say that the base of the hilt is removable, it's not. And nowhere in the instructions is this implied, so I would highly recommend against it, or else you might end up damaging this valuable collectible. With sword and shield in hand, it's easy to see that these items are the eye-catching pieces of the entire set. All the details are beautifully molded in, and every aspect of them is wonderfully painted. There's also a sword slash effect part that slides over the blade. It's nice, but I don't think it was very necessary. When it comes to Link's other accessories, well, that's just it. There are no other accessories. That's right, the most accessorizable Nintendo character ironically comes with none of them, and that's the biggest issue I have with this figure. I find the inclusion of a slightly tweaked hairpiece and slash effect part baffling, and instead I would have much preferred them to include a bomb, bow, boomerang, or even a bottle. Of course, there's always a chance that an accessory set may be released down the line, but I'm not holding my breath for that. On the other hand, the lack of accessories gives Figma Link a fairly affordable price. Coming in at just under 3,000 yen, I'm more than satisfied with my purchase. Especially so when you consider that the cost of the previous Nintendo Figma, Samus, was a lot closer to 4,000 yen. Ultimately, at its core, Link is an awesome addition to the Figma line. The base figure is phenomenal, bar a few slight issues with the articulation. And although the accessory count is quite low, the sword and shield that he comes with are some of the best I've ever seen to be included with any action figure. Whether you're a toy collector or just a Nintendo or video game fan, this is a piece you'll definitely want to grab, and I can guarantee you won't be disappointed. Having said that, there's virtually no other Link figure in the market, so even if this was a bad toy, a part of me would still recommend this one to you. Before I end this review, there is one more thing that I'd like to touch upon, and that's the fact that this is the Skyward Sword iteration of Link. I love the game, but if I'm honest, I never cared much for this look. I've always been more of a fan of the hyper-cartoonish boy from Wind Waker, as well as the darker, realistic hero from Twilight Princess. This Skyward Sword version is a somewhat melding of the two variations, and while it will probably please a great deal of fans, I don't think it will truly satisfy anyone, myself included. When it comes down to it, Figma Link is more of a placeholder rather than a definitive figure. So while he'll be staying in my collection for now, the minute something more appealing comes along, this toy will instantly be replaced. Anyways, this has been Type V3. Thanks for watching, and I'm extremely happy that after all these years we're finally getting some great Nintendo figures. With Max Factory releasing Pit in the near future, alongside Bandai with their D-Arts Mewtwo coming next spring, I'm confident that soon I'll have a Super Smash Bros. Shelf that I can proudly geek out and drool over.